We have entered a new era of professional Overwatch, and that is the new and mighty Hazard meta. It turns out that Hazard is really strong, and yes, he's a bit overtuned, but this is very exciting because Juno is on the decline. With Korea's Soup Cup, we have gotten our first look at Hazard in professional play, and he has taken precedence over Malga and Junker Queen to take the top spot. Today we're going to talk about what makes Hazard so strong. To understand why Hazard is meta, we should first talk about what kind of a composition he's played in. Funny enough, I pretty much perfectly predicted Hazard comp on Plat Chat before his Season 14 official release.
Hazard can kind of do the thing where it's like, okay, I can contest point, switch to back to high ground instead of having to take the stairs. I think that's really strong, and I think like Hazard in conjunction with some dive heroes, like I think those backlines where you have a hit scan and you have like Tracer, Genji, especially Genji, like a Genji Lucio. Like imagine a Hazard Genji Lucio, you clear the high ground, first point, then you take a brawl, whatever. I don't think he's expressly the best at doing dive things. I don't think he is.
For all of you who were incredibly upset about my initial thoughts on Juno and still angry after I made 2 videos explaining exactly why I was wrong, this time I got it right. I suppose the reality of being a content creator is that if you get something right, you're safe, nothing special. But if you get something wrong, all I can say is good luck with that. Anyways, on to Hazard. The most popular version of the Hazard composition includes the Kiriko Lucio backline, a rare sight after months of Juno Brig. The most popular hit scan choice is Sojourn, due to the recent buffs and her mobility, and the final slot is typically filled by Genji. I would consider this to be the default version of the Hazard composition, and if you haven't noticed by now, it looks strikingly similar to Junker Queen compositions that have been used in the past. The best way to describe Hazard is Junker Queen with really high mobility. Hazard's primary form of mobility is his leap, which he can use to dive across short distances. Genji and Lucio can follow up with those dives, making them effective picks, and they also kind of work on their own as a tag team, just like the Junker Queen version. We'll talk about that later in the video. Kiriko Lucio can also keep up with Hazard movement a bit better than Brig Juno can, although teams are still running Hazard with a variety of supports, including Brig Juno at times. The Hazard composition is essentially a very beefy dive composition. It still plays for short-range dives, but it's very good at brawling and doesn't fully rely on coordinated dives to win fights. Hazard doesn't have that same mobility that Winston, Doom, or D.Va has, so his dives are much shorter range. You could even define Hazard compositions as an almost equal combination of dive and brawl. Remember, diving and brawling are just actions that you take during a fight. Heroes are not inherently dive or brawl. Depending on the composition, Hazard's playstyle might be more or less brawly. There are a few reasons why Hazard might have taken over as the go-to meta pick in Korea. The first is that Hazard has very good survivability. His block is strong and he has a large health pool that allows him to take a beating. The second is his burst potential. Hazard just does a lot of damage. We'll see this when we analyze our match today. The third is that Sojourn is very strong due to recent buffs, which may inhibit Malga, who dominated the previous meta. Malga is pretty much a massive walking rail battery, so teams that ran Malga compositions struggled to deal with Sojourn. Our match today is Crazy Panda vs Genesis, one of the closest matches of the group stage in the Korean Soup Cup. Although neither team is super notable, we will have more videos on later matches that will cover some of your favorite players, including Violet Feeding, so bear with me now while we give some underappreciated players some love. In this video, we'll be looking at Illios, but skipping runes, which Genesis won, and going straight to Lighthouse, the second submap. Soup Cup is interesting because Soup Cup has hero bans. If you didn't know, hero bans are coming to the OWCS as well. So this is, in a sense, our first preview of a similar system before we get started with the next season at the end of January. The meta is likely to change, but the insight this tournament provides is still valuable. If you're interested in how hero bans work, I will have a video on the new OWCS format coming later this week, so subscribe to stay updated. On this first map, Genesis banned Echo and Panda banned Ana. Lighthouse is our submap, so although Ana Brig dive compositions are common here, often with an Echo Tracer DPS lineup, they aren't an option anymore. Both teams instead roll out with slightly differing variations of Hazard comp. Genesis run with the most standard composition with a Sojourn Genji DPS line, and Illios on Hazard must try to play within Hidden's LOS, line of sight, most of the time. Crazy Panda's DPS line is much faster, with Genji Tracer. This also means Fearful on Hazard will play more aggressive and more for that dive playstyle, with Hidden Sojourn as the primary target. Both teams roll out and the round begins. Fearful sets up on top of Cage, while Illios leaps across the map to the opposite high ground, using his wall to prevent Panda from jumping over Cage onto his backline. From his position, he is able to leap forward, killing Search with the slash. Lavender escapes Illios with a quick TP. Hidden rotates onto the lighthouse with his slide, but Fearful immediately jumps on him, using the wall and slash to finish the kill. Scarlet had also blinked across the map to assist with the dive, taking Maka out of the fight and using Recall to live. Scarlet drops again, looking to finish Faith on Lucio, who just barely escapes his grasp. Taejong drops from the lighthouse but misses his dash on Scarlet. Fearful tries to chase, but Taejong just barely makes it out with a deflect. Maka tried to TP into Suzu Taejong, but a wall was in the way. This is a tragic Suzu. Fearful continues to chase, walling Maka, who escapes with his TP. Fearful disengages, too low to continue. Crazy Panda have also captured the point, so they are now gaining progress. Hidden returns, and Fearful immediately climbs up to pressure. Unlike Winston, Hazard doesn't need to use his leap to contest a high ground position, as long as he's close enough, so positioning at the start of the fight matters so that you can save your leap for combos. Hidden is forced to slide away, and Maka TPs to him to use the Suzu. Hidden hits Fearful with a rail shot, bringing him low, but Fearful blocks Hidden's LOS with a wall. Dodo hunts Taejong, getting him very low, and Search dives in to finish the kill. Genesis aren't ready to give this one just yet, with Faith trading Fearful, who was already low. The Genji Lucio for Panda drop in for a dive onto Hidden, but they are warded off by Genesis. While this is happening, Illios is dueling Scarlet on point, securing the kill with a quick slash. For reference, the slash does 80 damage and has an absurd range of 6 meters, which is really strong. After Scarlet fell, Illios flips the point and the remainder of Crazy Panda fall. That first fight lasted a really long time and granted Panda 31% progress on the point. Also, if you're having trouble following these fights, don't worry about it, because I am too. This video was harder to script than normal because Hazard Mirror is just that chaotic, and it's difficult to show everything that happens during a fight without jumping around a lot. The Brawl versus Brawl fights we've seen a lot of recently often happen in a pretty small space. These fights happen much more spread out. The next fight opens with a leap from Illios onto Dodo, who uses Deflect to block the slash. Hidden then baits the leap out of Fearful. He just drops down to avoid the slash, forcing Fearful to wait. Fearful leaps in again, at half HP, using his wall to try and survive after throwing himself into probably the worst position physically possible, but he quickly dies to focused fire from Genesis. Scarlet attempts to pulse Taejong, but it falls wide. Hidden uses Slide to get back onto the high ground, but Dodo drops on him from behind, taking him out. Although Panda got the Sojourn kill, they are still lacking a tank. Dodo tries to keep fighting on the high ground, but Maka drops in with a Suzu to keep Taejong healthy. When Dodo attempts to back off, Illios drops his ult, pelting Dodo to death and rooting Lavender, who Illios slashes afterwards. The official name for Hazard's ultimate is Downpour, but we always like to come up with shorthand, so right now, the most common terms are Rain and Root. I might use these interchangeably, both terms quickly and accurately describe the ultimate. This next fight is going to be really chaotic, as if it wasn't chaotic already. Panda decide to rotate through the Mega straight to point, and Genesis look to pressure this. Search uses Speed Amp to get Panda through the rotation. Illios drops down and slashes Dodo in the back, while Taejong uses Blade, looking for a target. As soon as Panda reached the point, Lavender drops the Kitsune, Maka matches the Kitsune, and then Faith also uses Beat, while Search matches that beat, and Dodo uses Blade simultaneously. Now, ignore everything that just happened because a 1v1 defines this fight. Hidden was playing outside of the point from range, looking for a shot, when Scarlet locks onto him, chasing him down. After a quick duel, Lavender finishes Hidden, and Panda have the advantage. Taejong dashes through Dodo, getting him low while Faith secures the kill. Lavender drops down to obtain his second kill to trade, taking Maka with a headshot. Fearful uses Root, which only catches Illios. Not very impactful. Fearful chases the remaining members of Genesis, using a slash to finish the fight. That last root from Fearful didn't get much value and definitely wasn't necessary to win the fight, so now Crazy Panda are only left with a Pulse Bomb. Genesis have Overclock and are halfway to their root. You'll see now, during this fight, why I like to call this composition a dive composition, even if it is brawlier than usual. Scarlet sets up behind, ready to engage, and all of Panda set up close. And then when Search hits the speed amp, they all fly right at Genesis over the rooftops. Fearful first slashes Hidden and then uses his wall to split Genesis in half. This isolates Hidden, allowing Lavender to finish the kill. Scarlet is also in and forces Suzu out of Maka, allowing Fearful to finish the kill. Kalios tries to use his wall to split Lavender from Fearful, but Lavender lands the Suzu and Fearful is able to slash and then wall Kalios. Taejong did find 2 kills, one on Search and the other on Scarlet, but it wasn't enough and Crazy Panda win the fight. Scarlet's Tracer makes the difference in this final fight. He first pressures Taejong on Genji, forcing him away from the cage. His next target is Maka, who is forced to use the Suzu. Scarlet recalls, and because Suzu has been used, he is now free to use his Pulse Bomb. Hidden walks right in front of him, and he throws the Pulse, sticking it. Genesis no longer have overclock for this fight. Dodo drops in the cleanup, first Maka, and then a clean kill on Taejong. He dodges the root with his dash reset so Kalios didn't hit anyone. Crazy Panda has the advantage and can even up the map 1-1.
와, 퓨플 날카로운데요, 분장이! 칼렛! 너무 잘 막아줬습니다. 변수가 뭔지를 제대로 캐치했네요. 네, 가시 소나기는 다 피한 것 같고 이러면은 크레이지 판다가 흐름 거의 다 가져왔죠. 맞습니다. 어떻게 점유율은 91%. 자, 이거 제네시스 입장에서는 여기서 칼리우스가 간다면 터치가 좀 급급해지는데요. 네, 터치는 될 텐데 하필이면 페이스가 밟아가지고 이거는 그 다음에 끌고 갈 변수가 많이 없습니다. 맞습니다. 이제 역행도 빠진 상황에서 추가 터치 가능할까요, 제네시스? 되지 않았습니다.
The final submap is Windmill, another map where Hazard's verticality will be very useful. Both teams run the same compositions as before, so Crazy Panda's objective is identical to before: hunt Hidden. Panda roll out on top of the windmill, a good starting point for an eventual dive. Kalios matches, blocking Panda's path with a wall, and after it expires, Fearful leaps in, slashing Kalios who blocks it. Fearful uses his wall to, teleport Kalios off the high ground? Yeah, Fearful drops the wall and Kalios just clips through reality and finds himself on the first floor. I don't have an explanation for this. Fearful keeps the pace, slashing Taejong, chasing him into the cage. Fearful leaps in, slashing Taejong again, and he hits the kill combo. Genesis try to kite away, and Fearful continues forward, forcing Suzu and TP out of Maka. Genesis have run out of resources, Search eliminates Hidden, and Lavender finishes Kalios. Crazy Panda take the first fight. Scarlet gets creative to open the next fight, climbing up to be able to blink onto the high ground on a flank. Scarlet forces Suzu out of Maka before he dies. Fearful had leapt in at the same time, using his wall to block Faith from escaping. He does try to slip away from a different direction, but Search takes him down. This chaos allows Lavender to kill Hidden with a few kunai, but he has to use his Suzu to survive. After Dodo kills Taejong, Kalios, for some reason, decides to use his root while his entire team is dead. Of course, this did not work, and Crazy Panda win the second fight. Crazy Panda want to keep this aggressive pace, and makes it difficult for Hidden Sojourn to get value. As soon as Genesis are in range, Fearful leaps in, and Lavender teleports forward, dropping the Kitsune. Lavender almost immediately takes Hidden out of the fight. Panda rush forward, Dodo kills Taejong, and Fearful kills Kalios. Crazy Panda win the fight with just one ultimate and maintain their ultimate advantage. Genesis rotate top right, looking to make one last attempt at rotating in, but Panda set the pace once more. Dodo dashes over top using Blade, while Fearful tries to block the escape route for Genesis with a wall. Maka commits Kitsune, and Search simultaneously uses Beat. Dodo is able to swing and kill Maka, and then Scarlet lands the fight-winning pulse on Hidden.
맞습니다. 그리고 도도의 용감. 그림은 좋았고요. 아, 그러나 비트 차이. 이거 이러면 100대 0인데요? 그렇죠. 네, 100대 0이에요. 트랙 없어서 비비는 힘이 너무 약합니다. 아, 페이스의 움직임도 놓치지 않고 질풍참 그릴만 남은 도도입니다. 자, 이렇게 마무리가 될 것 같죠. 다 잡혔습니다. 아무도 없습니다. 결국 마지막 라운드 100대 0이었습니다. 크레이지 판다 일리오스가 가져갑니다.
Hollywood is the map choice for Genesis, and their choice of hero ban is Juno, while Crazy Panda ban Echo. Both teams switch out a player, Ruler replaces Kalios in the tank role for Genesis, and Arch replaces Scarlet in the DPS role for Crazy Panda. To start, Genesis chose defense. Crazy Panda are in attack, and with Arch in, they are now running the Sojourn Genji composition and matching Genesis. Hollywood has longer sightlines, so running that Tracer Genji would be more difficult. That hyper-aggressive playstyle can only work if you can close the distance in a short amount of time. Genesis did swap out their tank player, but Ruler will still be playing that default hazard. Genesis hold close at the corner, not giving the archway for free. Panda first focus on obtaining control of the first high ground past the archway, with Dodo climbing up the wall and dashing over, and Search backing him up, climbing up to help take control. This is one of the fundamental aspects of the macro in this composition, and it's actually very similar to the Junker Queen composition. Genji and Lucio are a two-man unit that work together to fight in clear areas of the map. They often work to control high grounds or eliminate specific targets. Genesis send their own Genji-Lucio tag team up to fight over that same high ground. Taejong and Faith won't give it up without a fight. After a quick scuffle, Crazy Panda retain control over that high ground, and Fearful uses his position as a starting point for his dive. He leaps towards Hidden, who slides away, and Fearful misses his shots. Now, things happen really fast. Lavender desperately works to keep the pandas alive and goes for a cross-map Suzu on Fearful, knowing that if he TPs in there, he is getting shredded alive. Ruler jump scares Lavender with a quick slash before dropping down to assist his team. Ruler's next target is Arch, and with the help of Taejong, he takes him down. Arch had ironically been isolated from his team by a wall placed by his teammate Fearful a moment before. Ruler switches back to Lavender, who TPs away and punches Maka before being sent back to spawn. This fight was scrappy and Panda got some kills, but Ruler and Faith confidently cleaned things up. The next fight gets started almost straight away. Panda make their move early since Genesis are still returning from spawn. Fearful makes a setup jump to close the distance to the cafe high ground, and Ruler looks to cut off his backline, going for a slash on Arch and then walling Panda's backline off. Taejong gets Search low, but Ruler misses a key slash and Search just barely escapes with his life. While this is happening, Fearful is pressuring the backline of Genesis, and after a moment shifts his focus to Arch, who is on an angle through the doorway. To punch through Fearful's close hold, Faith drops the beat and Genesis hit the gas to get through. Ruler leaps at Arch and finishes the kill. Fearful tries to do the same to Hidden, but is unsuccessful and dies shortly afterwards to Ruler, who dropped back to assist. The next fight will be ultimate heavy and begins with both Kirikos dropping Kitsune through main. When Search drops the beat, Genesis must kite, and they do so by flipping the map and kiting towards Panda's side of the map to recover. To halt Panda's momentum, Ruler uses Root, hitting Search, who Maka kills with a kunai to the head. Fearful responds with his own route to try and trade, hitting Ruler, who dies, and Faith, who is bailed out by a Suzu from Maka, but he dies anyways to Dodo's blade. 3 players remain for Genesis: Taejong, who has his blade available, Maka, who saved Hidden with a key Suzu, and Hidden, who nearly has Overclock ready to go. Most of this fight occurred away from the point, so Crazy Panda just now step onto the point and begin to capture it. Hidden and Maka make an interesting decision, playing in Panda's spawn and trying to spawn hold Search's Lucio. As this is happening, Faith speeds Ruler back towards the point. Fearful notices Ruler's return and attempts to block him with a wall, but Fearful walks around it without issue. Just as Ruler returns, Taejong strikes. He kills Arch with the blade and forces Lavender CDs. Search attempts to escape, but Ruler politely asks him to stay, with a wall blocking his escape. Genesis clean up, and although they gave up 2 ticks on the point, they won a fight while outnumbered and at an ultimate disadvantage. This was the best possible outcome for Genesis. Ruler starts this fight with a bang. He climbs up, and due to a well-placed shot from Hidden's Overclock, he is able to instantly eliminate Search. Arch had also jumped up onto that same high ground to use Overclock and was met with a very angry Ruler. Although Lavender tried to bail him out with a Suzu, Ruler chases Arch down and takes him out. Genesis win this fight quickly, so Crazy Panda do have another shot. Again, Hidden is the key opener to this fight. He lands an important rail shot on Arch, and Ruler immediately leaps to follow up. Although Arch avoids the slash, he cannot escape Taejong, who dashes to finish the kill. Ruler walls the right side to make it more difficult for Fearful to escape, and then backed up by Faith's beat, Ruler leaps into the backline, killing Search with a slash. Ruler immediately drops his root, which forces Lavender to TP away. The root only finds Fearful, who Ruler proceeds to defeat in a 1-on-1. Genesis can full hold the first point.
있었는데요. 눈치 벌리고 있어요 제네시스. 와라 여우길 준비 갑니다. 날면서 아르키부터 잡아먹는 태종입니다. 아 뽑았어요. 이제 그냥 시간 보고 비트 누르면 되겠는데요. 아 여우길을 눌렀지만 스펀지 비트가 너무 잘 응수해주고 있고요. 네 라벤더도 지금은 이제 스킬이 말랐기 때문에 곧 잡힐 겁니다. 그리고 태종의 깔끔한 정리까지. 이대로 제네시스 완벽에 성공합니다.
To even up the series, all Genesis need to do is capture the first point, and they aren't about to let that chance go. On the other hand, Panda get creative with their defense, with Fearful, what are you doing up there? Fearful leaps from the skybox onto an unsuspecting Hidden, walling him off, making for an easy headshot from Arch. Unfortunately for Panda, their tank player is now kind of inting, so they need to move fast. Fearful rightfully dies, but Arch and Dodo are able to take advantage of Fearful's distraction, killing Taejong and Maka respectively. Ruler and Faith are the survivors, with Ruler grabbing the Mega Pack before returning to main. Ruler then climbs up onto the high ground, awaiting his team's return. He forces Dodo away with his leap and begins to capture the point. And then, he makes the play of the map.
벽에는 데미지가 있거든요. 좀비사가 방울 태워 끝났어요. 그냥 룰러가 모든 걸 무조건 찢어버리고 있습니다. 아 유망주의 초신성답게 마무리를 잘하네요. 막골이 만들기 직전입니다. 끝났습니다 이거는요. 이렇게 크레이지 판다의 발에 제대로 가시를 꽂아놓는 룰러의 대활약이었습니다. 제네시스 헐리우드 가능합니다.
This match would continue on to a map 5, ending with Shimbali Monastery. Crazy Panda, they put up a good fight, but they just weren't able to get through the first point.
모든 게 1등이 걸려있는 빛에 하지만 여우길이 왔고 잠깐 피어프는 다시 소나기 묶였어요. 이러면 제네시스가 웃는 것 같죠. 혼자 남은 피어플 정리만이 남아있습니다. 아 제네시스 팬들 오래 기다리셨습니다. 드디어 그들의 1승이
We are just beginning to understand this new meta. Hazard is strong, and there are plenty of ways you can run Hazard compositions. Today, we looked at two similar compositions with a Kiri-Lucio backline and slightly differing DPS lineups, but in other matches, we've seen all kinds of variants. When Kiriko or Lucio were banned, teams usually went right back to Juno Brig, or sometimes even Juno Lucio. Hero bans have an interesting impact on this meta as well, but even without considering bans, Hazard seems to be the strongest tank at the moment. Again, I'll be discussing OWCS hero bans in my next video, so subscribe if you want to learn more about that. I also plan to adjust to this change by introducing ban indicators into my videos. That is a work in progress, and so I will have it in place by the time OWCS Season 2 begins. Also, if you want more Hazard content, there's a very silly map in the Grand Finals between Crazy Raccoon and Zeta Division that I reviewed, live, and edited. You can check that out on my second channel, Ocie0. Also, if you want these main channel videos early, check out my coffee page, and that's it for today's video. See you next time.